TNT. Some news for you. Chauncey Billups has signed a multi-year contract extension with the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers did not release the terms of the deal.
Congrats, Chauncey.
In his fourth year with the Blazers.
Have a great second half of the season.
Absolutely. 35-46 to finish the season. Speaking of those Blazers, Bronny James making his first career start for the Lakers, finding Christian Coloco for the slam. And then Bronny getting the reverse lay-in.
Oh, good offense there.
Finishes with the slam. A little later on, Matisse Thybulle open for three. Chris Murray with the pass here. Rupert with the finish. Delano Banton.
I like his game.
Okay. He didn't add that. I haven't seen that from him before.
Finishes with the win, their 36th win of the year. OKC taking on New Orleans.
Whoa.
Brandon Carlson. Aaron Wiggins with the steal. It's the fast break dunk.
They are so deep.
Deep.
Thunder.
Carlson there, going up strong. OKC up 64-49. Pelicans trying to close the gap. Jose Alvarado in the wing.
He's worked on it. Three ball.
Shooting it better.
Aaron Wiggins here,
Good
cut
play.
to the basket. Isaiah Joe,
Nice.
you know what he wants to do.
Shooter.
Splash.
Shooter.
As OKC goes
He's
on
a shooter.
to win. So when we're talking about the Lakers and we're talking about OKC, right, these are two teams with heavy expectations in the West. Let's start with OKC. From their experience they got last year to finishing 68-14 this year, I mean, it's hard to say they finished first with 68 wins, but how legit are they as far as a playoff team?
Oh, listen, they're legit. There's no question about it. The only concern is that they don't blow you away with experience. They've got they oodle talent, right? They just got mounds of talent. They're probably going to have the MVP. They have all NBA defenders all across the board. They move it well. They shoot it well. They do everything at a high level. I think it's just that when you look at the path they're going to have to go through and how much depth there is in that Western Conference and how many former champions that they're going to have to deal with potentially. And I think that's what makes this so challenging, especially coming off of what happened last season with the disappointment of losing in that second round.
Love them. I mean, everything the GA said. They've shown they were the best team. National Basketball Association, the way they came back from last year, they defend. I love both Jalen Williams. I think the one that's coming off the bench, the big, he can be really impactful with his passing, with his shooting the basketball. Chet hasn't got into the rhythm, I think, GA, that he was before the injury, but he's starting to come. I love Hardenstein. And they probably have the MVP. So this is going to be interesting to watch them. They have the talent. They have the tools. They just haven't been there before.
SGA is obviously going to get more attention in the playoffs. I mean, do you think his game translates the way he played in the regular season over to the playoffs?
Yes, and I think it translated last year. I mean, he was really good. The problem was what our concern is coming into this season. Will Jalen Williams and the rest of that supporting cast, can they raise their level offensively? Can they be counted on when the adversity hits? Because that's what the postseason's about. It's a different animal. Your coaching's going to have a bigger impact in terms of game plan, schemes. How do you use your rotation? Like sometimes you can come into the postseason as OKC is with a girth of talent, but now as a coaching staff, do you stay with that or do you shrink it? Like that, their coaching staff's going to have a lot of pressure on them in terms of how they want to approach this, especially if they, let's say, go down a game early in the postseason. So, like, there's a lot yet to be determined. They are a great young team. They could be great for a long time. The question is, are they going to be good enough to withstand what's about to hit them in this postseason?
What about the Lakers? Have you seen enough of Luka Doncic with that team, him and LeBron James, and that chemistry to say, hey, they're a real contender?
No, they're a real contender when they made the trade. Obviously, you want to see how far they can go. They are scary because you have two guys that can just take over a game. Two guys with probably, like Isaiah Thomas said the other day, the highest basketball IQ of two guys in this playoffs. And then you have a guy in LeBron James. You know, we talk about his age, Jerry Nabil, but if you give a guy like this who's played such a high level, his numbers are compared to some of his MVP seasons at 40, you don't want to give him a chance because why not? He's going to try to make history and say, hey, I did it at 40. So I'm looking forward for their run. I'm a little suspect of the guys up front, their front court, but other than that, yes, they have a chance.
Yeah, the thing also that they have, you talk about that collective basketball IQ, the thing that they have that I don't think anybody else in the Western Conference has is that they have two guys that can control a game. That's different than two guys that can get 30. When I talk about control a game, I mean the ball can be in their hand for the majority of the game, and they can literally make every possession that leads to winning. There aren't a lot of guys in the league that can do that. They have two of them. The question is going to be, to Smitty's point, is that supporting cast going to be good enough? Are the Jarrett Vanderbilts, the Dorian Finney-Smiths, the Austin Reeves, the Jackson Hayes, I shouldn't even put Austin out because Austin's proven himself, the Rui Hachimuras, do they get enough from those guys? Can they make enough winning plays? And if that's the case, then this Lakers team, they're going to be a handful because they got two guys that you really can't game plan against. You cannot stop LeBron and Luka if they're playing their game.
Yeah, and one of those guys is going to be on the court at all times, which is kind of crazy, right?
For sure. And then what position
do
you put them? They're positionless.
Yeah.
And they both got unbelievable size.
It is going to be wild to see how this all breaks. All right, so this is how the West looks now. OKC and Houston awaiting their opponents. One of them could be Golden State, who dropped to 7th, and they're in the play-in. And then how about these matchups right here with the Nuggets and the Clippers and the Lakers and
Minnesota.
the T-Wolves.
Yeah, I like
that's
all
going to be a good
this.
series.
I like this.
So who stands out to you from what we saw today and between that matchup to get to 4 to 8? I mean, who really stood out to you?
I think the Clippers. I mean, the job they've done. Yes, Minnesota needed to win to get to the situation where they get a chance to play the Lakers. But I'm just going by what they had to go through throughout the entire season, and now to get Kawhi back to be able to get to this position, you had to hold on, and they held on more than hold on. James Harden and Norman Powell and Zubac did a phenomenal job to give them this opportunity.
Yeah, I would say the Clippers as well. And because of what they had, I mean, listen, they had the most meaningful game against an opponent who had a equally meaningful game, right, with Golden State. And they got Golden State's best shot because Golden State played well enough to win this game. And what they were able to separate themselves. We talk about the stars, they outperformed. They dominated the backboard. Plus 18 on the glass in that game. And that's an area, if you're Golden State, that you have to be concerned about. But if you're the Clippers, to know that not only can we dominate defensively for stretches because of Kawhi and what they could do there, but they can also own the paint. And that's what they were able to do. Their second chance opportunities in that second half really was the difference in the game. That was an impressive performance. And to have your best players, Kawhi and James Harden, they showed up and showed out tonight.
So they finished the regular season with 8 straight wins. When you're talking about the Clippers here and being optimistic about them, are we just talking 1 round here, 2 rounds, or do you think potentially they could go all the way to maybe the West Final here?
You know, it's a tall task playing against Denver, but a tall task for Denver playing against the Clippers. So, yes, after they win that series, they get the winner of 1-8. So, yes, for sure, they can make it to the Western Conference.
And seeding is not what it typically is because of the monumental moves that have happened over the course of the season. Think about the Lakers. They go out and get one of the 3 or 4 best players in the game, arguably, right? The Warriors go out and get one of the 3 or 4 most impactful players that was available. And if you're the Clippers, you could say, look, we got Kawhi Leonard, who's an all-NBA first-team defensive player of the year caliber type talent. So, in essence, they brought him into their focus. He really hadn't been there all year until the latter stages of the season where he was able to kind of get into shape and also get back to playing at a level where it put everybody in their proper spots, right? He showed he could be equally as effective with Harden because that's a vital thing, too. They both those guys are comfortable. They know what their roles are going to be. That team knows how they're going to play. That's not a typical lower-seeded team. No question they can get to the conference finals.
Minnesota, your thoughts on them going in the playoffs?
I love them because of, they have that guy, Anthony Edwards. I love DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I love the front court they have. They have size and they're interchangeable, being able to play Randall with Naz Reid or Naz Reid with Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert, the way he's playing, they're getting back to where defensively they're one of the top teams.
Yeah, Minnesota's a really good team, and we talked about this pregame before the games got going. The thing about Anthony Edwards, of all these guys that are in the postseason, he's the one guy that can still go to a level that he's not shown yet because of his age. So that can be scary, but it also speaks to the fact that he doesn't have the experience that some of these other superstars have. So we're going to have to wait and see how this one plays out.
It's going to be exciting. It is going to be great there in the West. The top 6 is set up. So they will host the Dallas Mavericks. But let's start with the Warriors and the Grizzlies in the West playing. How do you see that one playing out?
Interesting matchup because of the size of Memphis going up against that experience of Golden State. The question for me, if you're Golden State, are we going to be able to control that defensive backboard? That's going to be huge for them. And then if you're Memphis, you got a new coach. Are you going to game plan in a manner that's going to allow you to kind of have an impact on both Butler and Curry? They've got to be able to contain Curry. Not that you're going to stop him, but you can't give him 8 to 10 to 12 uncontested open threes every game. I just don't think that's a recipe for success. But this is a really important series, I think, for Memphis, too, big picture, because they're about to have a reset in that organization. And you can ill afford to potentially get knocked out early before you even get into the postseason. So this one's going to be exciting.
It is, and just tough for both teams. If you start talking about the beginning of the season, I would have never thought either one of these teams would be in a playoff.
Yeah.
Neither one of them. And obviously injuries have been played, but also there's a situation right now is they both have a chance. That's what's so exciting about the play-in. Jay said it, the size of the Grizzlies can really pose a problem to the Warriors. It can make them play differently. And then obviously you have Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Who's going to be that guy to be able to match up with one of those two guys? I can't wait to see this one, because these two teams have had a little history.
And in fairness, too, for perspective, both of them won 48 games. Like, it wasn't like they just, backed in. I mean, 48 games typically would get you in the postseason. It just speaks to the depth of that Western Conference.
All right, what about the Kings and the Mavericks? Because the Kings are hard to figure out. They've been a very streaky team all season. They finished 40-42, and then the Mavericks obviously know the situation there. But how do you see this one playing out?
Dallas is just unfortunately, everything that's happened, as far as injury-wise. After the trade, everybody was shocked, like I was, and then you looked and you started to look and say, hey, there's no Luka. There's nobody's going to be able to replace Luka, but I was like, this is a deep team if they can get healthy. And then in the big-time blow comes with Kyrie getting hurt. Still a good team, and obviously Sacramento is a team where you have Sabonis and obviously Zach LaVine and DeRozan. I look at this one, I'm going to give the edge to Sacramento.
Yeah, I would have to go with Sac as well. I think they're just a little more explosive offensively, and they got all their guys. Like, they know how they're going to want to play. They don't need anybody to do anything special. I would give them the nod in this. But I tell you, to your point, there's a lot of depth in Dallas. I mean, you think about who's not playing for them, all they've been through, and they've been pretty competitive still, absent all that talent. So that should make for an interesting game. And let's face it, they got nothing to lose.
They got a big team, too, right?
Yeah.
Big up front, right?
Huge.
All right, that's a story in the West. What about the East? Can anyone dethrone the Celtics? We'll get into that